Welcome back, Nighttime Nights. So, a few lessons ago, we learned about the migration of birds. Take a second to think back about something that you know about migration of birds. It could be something you learned from a previous lesson, or it could be something you already knew. Maybe it's where birds migrate to, or when they migrate, or something else. Alright, so today we're going to learn about a specific type of bird and their migration. This bird is called the Kirtland's warbler. They're a really pretty bird with bluish gray and black backs and yellow breasts. They are an endangered species, which means that they are in danger of going extinct. Luckily, in Michigan, there's a lot of land for them to nest, which has been helping their population grow. Every year, the Kirtland's warblers travel from the Bahamas to Michigan to nest and have their baby birds. And then, when they're ready, they travel back to the Bahamas. This migration journey can be pretty dangerous sometimes, especially when they have to travel past cities. These cities can have lights that distract the birds, or they might accidentally just fly into a building on accident. So today we're going to play a game where you get to pretend to be the Kirtland's warbler. We're going to follow the birds on their migration path from the Bahamas to Michigan and then their nesting period. So you might have some trouble with the cities or finding a place to nest, or you might get lucky and you might have a perfect migration period. So we're going to go ahead and pause here, and using the materials from the activity handout packet and the links that are found on the Pause Here page, we're going to play the game. So good luck, and I hope you have fun. Alright, did you enjoy getting to be a bird? I hope that you got to see how hard it is for birds to migrate and nest. The Kirtland's warblers need at least 8 acres to create their nests and at least 30 acres to raise their baby birds. And yeah, you probably also saw that birds can get distracted by lots of lights, so it must have been hard to travel through cities. Well, hopefully you got to experience the Kirtland's warblers' experience when they migrate and nest, and saw just how troubling light pollution can be for birds on their migration path. Okay, so now I want you to think back to last lesson. What is one bad thing that we learned last lesson about glare? Good job with that. And humans aren't the only ones who are affected by glare and light pollution. Just like we saw with the Kirtland's warblers, lights can be really distracting and harmful to birds on their migratory patterns. So now that we've talked a lot about what animals are affected by light pollution and how light pollution affects people, let's talk about what types of lights are creating that light pollution and what types of lights are beneficial for us and for animals. So most lights can fit into 2 different categories: acceptable lights and unacceptable lights. Of course, we'd love for all of our lights to be acceptable, but unfortunately there are unacceptable lights. So last lesson we learned about light shields and glare. So let's use that knowledge and all of the knowledge we've gained so far to brainstorm what we think acceptable and unacceptable lights look like. And remember, unacceptable lights are those unwanted lights that create light pollution, and acceptable lights are the lights that keep us safe, comfortable, and healthy. So pause here and brainstorm what acceptable and unacceptable lights look like. Good job! One of the main ways that unacceptable lights create light pollution is by not being shielded or sending light where we don't need it, such as sending light upwards. And unacceptable lights can also affect humans, plants, and animals in a really negative way. So now we're going to look at the Better Lights for Better Nights light samples handout to kind of review what we've learned today. So on this Better Lights for Better Nights handout, we can see the difference between the unacceptable lights and the acceptable lights. So on the left are the lights that are unacceptable,
Maybe they aren't shielded enough, or they're too bright, or they just aren't in the right place. And on the right are the acceptable lights. And as we can see, they all look very shielded, and they probably are only on when they're needed, and they're pointed down. So unacceptable lights create glare and are annoying to be around. Unacceptable lights give off light in places we don't want, such as a light that gives off light upwards. Unacceptable lights also give off blue light that is unhealthy for us. Acceptable lights are shielded so that it only puts light where we want it and are there for a reason. Acceptable lights do not create glare or increase light pollution.
Okay, so now that we understand what an acceptable light looks like, we're going to play a sorting game. In the downloadable handout packet, you can find pictures of lights, and we're going to use those lights to sort them into piles. One pile will be acceptable lights, and one pile will be unacceptable lights. And remember, there are lots of different ways to determine whether light is acceptable, but in this activity, we're just going to focus on whether they have light shields, because it's pretty easy for us to see in a picture. Alright, next lesson we're going to learn about how to change those unacceptable lights into more acceptable lights. So have fun doing your sorting game, and I'll see you later, Nighttime Knights. See you next lesson.